There is a lens out there that you can get for less than $100 that's considered vintage glass, that has some very unique characteristics and pretty much can fit any camera. I'm talking about the Helios 44-2. It's very small, it's very compact. We're going to take a look at how that lens works with a cinema camera, and in particular, the Blackmagic full-frame cinema camera. My name is Matt Spade, and I've been dealing with lenses since about 1991 when I started shooting on this camera right here, this Pentax K1000. I want to share with you my experience in shooting with this Helios lens. Now, this lens was originally made as a photography lens dating back to the 60s. It was manufactured well into the 90s. There was no shortage of these lenses. It was a Soviet Union, USSR mass-produced lens. You can find them on eBay for as little as $30. If you see it for $110, it's still a good purchase. It is an M42 mount. That's a screw mount. The adapters for this are readily available and inexpensive. These lenses have been manufactured in different plants for several decades. The one that I purchased, the Valde, is supposedly the worst of the ones, but taking a look at some of this footage, I'm very pleased with it. The goal of this video is to share with you my experience in using this in both a professional way, in short narrative, on commercial work, and just for fun. It definitely has some unique character to it, so let's take a look at that. So it's called the Helios 44-2, but it's a prime whose focal length is 58 millimeters. Typically what we see is 50 to 75 or 85. So it's a pretty unique focal length. One of the more unique characteristics that this lens brings is what people call the swirly bokeh. If you're new to this, bokeh refers to the background blur. With the foreground out of focus, we don't see it. Once the background is out of focus, that's when we start to see this swirly bokeh, the swirly out of focus area. You'll see in the center, it's more cylindrical, and as you go towards the edges, it kind of curves around. If you look at the gaps in the leaves with the light, it kind of creates a nice circle around there. Here are some landscape shots that I did with this lens. This is closed down to 11 or 16. All of the clips that you're looking at have been standardized to Rec. 709 through DaVinci Resolve. It's adding contrast, it's adding a little bit of saturation. And all I did with these clips is just a basic color balance, added a little bit of saturation. These landscape shots were done at a T5.6 to 11. I usually see tests with these lenses where they're opened up all the way to get that amazing background blur and to get that swirly bokeh. For landscape shots, this is pretty good. I don't know that a 56 is always ideal for landscape. In these instances, I was outside where I had enough room to capture a little bit of a landscape. I think typically you want to do a 35, 28, 24. Another test that I did with this lens was skin tones. Now, both of these shots are in natural light. One's outside, the other one is inside with me standing right next to the window during a sunny day. This is just a basic grade. On the outside one, I had to pull back some of the green from the leaves and fix the cast. But this one with me at the window, there is nothing done to this other than the DaVinci color managed, where we added some saturation from the washout. Now for these shots, I was probably 10 inches away from the end of the barrel of the lens to the plant, but this is just the lens on its own, getting that sort of close-up macro shot. Might not be considered a true macro, but better than some of the other lenses. Since it does have the f-stop of 2, I wanted to test this in low light. So this is inside with a lamp. This is outside with some string lights that we have on our fence. And just to have some fun, I figured I would throw the star filter on here. Another interesting aspect of this lens is some of the flare that it can throw onto your image. When we open up all the way to f2, I thought for a minute that maybe this was with the particular version that I had, but I've seen other videos where that same thing happens when you open up all the way. You introduce more of this haze. So take a look at this clip where I'm shining light on it. You can see that round haze. This is opened all the way up at f2. If I stop down to 2.8 or 4, that circle haze is gone, but there's still a little bit of flare. Keep in mind the light's shining directly at the camera, And with a lot of lenses, you're going to get some type of reflected light, some flare, goes with the territory. And in this particular shot, I had closed all the way down to f16 on this, but look how I'm able to manage that in post. So this was done with exposure, adding a little bit of saturation to it, adding a little bit of a color cast, a LUT thrown on there just at 25%. So I used this lens on a professional shoot that I did recently, a documentary that I was working on. The primary lens that I was shooting with was the Sea-Ray Saturn 75, which is an anamorphic lens. For the ending, I wanted to bring the subject closer to us. I didn't want to use a diopter, so I switched to the Helios. I had this at either f4 or 5.6 because it was an interview. I wanted the subject's face to be fully in focus, and the background was black. I did a video recently where I talked about using this lens with the Sea-Ray Saturn and got a few comments about, well, that's not how you use the lens. Well, yes, it is. I wanted that focal length to bring the subject closer to me. So, you know, can't please everybody, can you? And I just like the unique look to it. It's going to give you character that a lot of modern glass doesn't give you. I'm not against modern glass. This can certainly give you a sharp image, especially if you open up to 5.6, 8, or 11. If you're going for that shallow depth of field look, it's definitely going to give you a unique look to that as well. As you can tell, I'm able to push different color looks on this lens in the same shot. And that's what I look for in a lens, or a camera, or a piece of software, is the flexibility. Yes, it can be known for one particular thing or one particular aspect. How does it perform under other circumstances? And to me, that's where the flexibility shows. If you're using one of these lenses, let me know in the comments. Let me know if you have any questions about this lens, and if there's any other affordable vintage glass out there that you're using, because take my money. It's a fun hobby, profession to have some kind of unique look and some type of unique glass out there. It's a lot of fun to do that. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. We'll see you.